What is up, guys? Rick Cacus here, and today we have a brand new episode of Raid Versus, the series where we take exotic weapons through the ringer, putting them up against every single encounter of the Leviathan Raid and ranking their performance. Today, although we have an old raid, we have a brand new Forsaken exotic, the Malfeasance Exotic Hand Cannon. Now, although Leviathan isn't as relevant as it was, it's still dropping great loot for anyone who doesn't have stuff like the inaugural address. It actually is a great way to farm masterwork cores because you have a really high chance to get masterwork drops, and most importantly, it's fun, and it's a great way to see how these new exotics compare with the year 1 exotics. And so, let's get started. So, the first thing we're going to do is take a look at this weapon. It is a very fast-firing hand cannon belonging to the 180 rounds per minute archetype. It has insane stability, and in terms of the exotic perks, firstly, it has Explosive Shadow as an intrinsic perk. Shoot tainted slugs that burrow into the enemy. Stacking enough slugs causes them all to explode. So if you hit an enemy 5 times, you'll hit him with 5 of those slugs, and you'll actually see those slugs in his body. And then on the 5th slug on a singleton target, they're all going to explode and do bonus damage. So whereas a normal hand cannon would just be hitting and doing a certain amount of damage, the Malfeasance is doing damage and also causing those explosions to do damage. So on a singleton target, again, it's out DPSing what you can find with normal hand cannons. Moving on from there, it has another unique perk that gives it bonus damage against Taken and Gambit invaders. Decent perk, but not relevant in this activity. So, let's get started here with the very first encounter of the Leviathan Raid, which is the Castellum. Now, something really interesting about the Malfeasance is that it actually has a very Rat King-esque quality, and that is, if there's more people using the Malfeasance, it's going to get better. Now, how is that? Well, it has to do with the Explosive Shadow perk. Turns out that once again you get 5 slugs and they explode, those 5 slugs can come from anyone's Malfeasance. That's right, if your teammate shoots an enemy 2 times and you shoot that enemy 3 times, that's 5, it's going to trigger the explosions. So the more people using Malfeasance means way more explosions. Like if you're fighting a big yellow bar enemy and you just have 1 extra teammate, you're going to get basically double, well not basically, literally double the amount of explosions from just double the amount of the tainted slugs hitting that target. So that is definitely a factor to consider. Now, how does this all play out in the Castellum? Well, the Malfeasance is just a good hand cannon. It's a good hand cannon at killing stuff, really. Against the red bars, it kills them pretty darn efficiently. If you're getting headshots, it kills them in less than 5 shots. And if you're getting all body shots, the explosions will guarantee a kill and after not too long. And when shooting the more powerful enemies, the Reclaimers, because of the increased overall DPS output of this weapon because of the explosions, either if you're by yourself or when you're with a teammate that also have the Malfeasance, you're going to be taking down those guys very, very quickly. Again, even just by yourself, the fact that you can just be pumping rounds into one of those yellow bar enemies, and because the explosions take them down so much faster when compared to other primary weapons, is a very useful feature. So overall, very good weapon for this encounter. My only complaint is that it actually does chew through ammunition pretty darn fast, so you may kind of find yourself in a little bit of trouble, but other than that, it's fantastic. 8 out of 10. Moving on from there, we have the Royal Pools encounter. How does the Malfeasance perform here? Well, this encounter is broken up into 2 different sections, defending your plate and then damaging the lanterns. So in the first section, defending your plate, it's pretty darn decent. Against the Bathers, which are kind of the main enemy you're going to have to face here, well, the biggest enemy you're going to have to face here, it actually nearly kills them with a single magazine. For a primary weapon, that's actually fantastic. So just, 10 rounds, a couple of explosions, and then a melee or combined with a grenade, or just switching for 1 round out of your shotgun, something like that, and you have dealt with the Bathers super easily. Like really, you can just rely just on this gun and a melee, and you should be able to take down the Bather by yourself. Against the rest of the enemies, it actually can one-shot headshot the Scions, which is really, really nice. And against everything else, it's fantastic. It's good at long range because of the stability, and even if you're not doing great damage because they're outside your optimal range, the explosions still kills everything. So very, very good gun in this first section. But moving on from there, we have the second section, and here things were looking promising, right? Shouldn't it trigger so many explosions because we have a bunch of people using Malfeasance? Well, turns out, unfortunately, no, it doesn't work like that. Although it does a decent amount of damage per shot, and it's very accurate, especially again with that stability, very easy to land shots, shooting very fast. The lanterns, for whatever reason, do not allow the explosions the Malfeasance should cause to take place. So it becomes a totally normal 180 rounds per minute hand cannon for this specific encounter. So against lanterns, trash. You definitely want to be using other stuff. So, fantastic when defending your plate, pretty trash when you're damaging the lanterns. Let's split the difference and say it's a 6 out of 10. Still slightly above average because of that stability, because it's just a good hand cannon overall, but not really something you're going to want to necessarily use or main during this encounter. But moving on from there, we have a really interesting encounter because we have our first real DPS check against the dogs in the pleasure gardens. So, firstly, just killing beast herders, it's fine, whatever, we're not really concerned about that. It's really just how much damage can this thing do against the dogs. Well, we got a 24 stack, not going too high because if you get like a 60 stack, anything melts the dogs. So 24 stack is pretty realistic here, and I used melting point even to get my damage even higher. And actually, I was reasonably impressed by the Malfeasance performance here. It is a primary weapon after all, and it's doing pretty okay damage. Now, I actually probably shouldn't have melting pointed just because it caused the dog, as you can see, to kind of freak out and start jumping around when usually they stand perfectly still so you can line up the headshots super, super easily. But again, I'm getting this dog basically to half health, definitely getting him beyond 1/3 of health with just a primary weapon, and that very much impresses me. But in the grand scheme of things, heavy weapons and even, shotguns, the escalation shotgun is just going to mow through these dogs well before the Malfeasance would. So when we consider all weapons, definitely it's not one of the best. In terms of primary weapons, that's where it stands out. And in that case, I'm going to give the Malfeasance a 7 out of 10 in this encounter. It's certainly above average, but it's definitely not top tier. Now, next up, we have the Gauntlet encounter. This is also broken up into different sections. The first section is just killing a bunch of ads, and here, the Malfeasance is great. It's good at killing stuff, as we already explained, so against a few red bars all coming out of the same door, it mows through those guys pretty darn fast, and you can get some nice splash damage from the explosions because they are pretty close together, but it's really not doing anything incredible here. It's performing very well, but not anything different than the Castellum encounter for sure. Now, in terms of the second section, which is just shooting objects while people run, it's totally fine here. The stability actually really does help kind of get some of the long range shots that hand cannons can kind of be annoying for at this part, but yeah, totally fine here, totally fine in the first section, not doing anything super duper amazing, but also really holding its own, being a solid weapon. Actually against the yellow bars, it's pretty good there as well. That extra DPS output does come up, so I'm going to give it another 7 out of 10. Again, above average, but not necessarily massively top tier. And moving on from there, we have the final encounter against Big Daddy Calais. How does the Malfeasance perform here? Well, we have many sections to this encounter. The first one is just going to be defending the throne room, killing enemies. Yet again, the Malfeasance is great at this. This is going to be an encounter that you're going to notice if multiple people are using this weapon because you can all team up on the yellow bars and take them down very, very fast. So that's a great feature. But again, we have so many more sections. So against the throne room, pretty darn decent. It's just a good little hand cannon. Now, in terms of inside the void room, it's actually pretty decent here. Really easy to land headshots against the Scions. That massive stability makes follow-up shots really easy if you do miss. You know, kills the projections very swiftly, so all good there. But against the skulls, it's trash. Like, against the skulls, this is not the weapon you want. Even though it has good stability and it shoots fast, it's just terrible for killing those skulls. They move super erratically. You can definitely get some, but you definitely want something like an auto rifle, something to back you up for this particular activity if you are using the Malfeasance. But after that, we have actually damaging Calus. And this is exciting. We have many people with the Malfeasance. There should be explosions going off all the time. So could this thing absolutely crush Calus? Well, no. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, when you shoot his head, it does not properly trigger the Malfeasance explosion. And again, if it's not doing that, that's a huge problem. You might as well just be using a normal hand cannon. The Malfeasance is exotic specifically for those explosions, so if you're not getting them, that's a huge downside. In fact, after reviewing the footage, the explosions are going off, they just aren't doing any damage. And that may have something to do with that damage not originating from the plate. That can also happen with damage over time grenades. But things get even more weird because later on, when we were shooting his belly, it was actually getting the explosions. So what's going on here? Is it just his belly does it and his head does not? Does it have something to do with the amount of rifts we're using? You know, sometimes the Well of Radiance can mess stuff up. It definitely does for Sleeper. Well, frankly, it doesn't really matter. What does matter is that you can't pop a well and go to town on that first plate with the Malfeasance because it won't be triggering properly. And that is a huge downside with this encounter. A huge downside. So, in the Calus encounter, great in the throne room, pretty good in void room, terrible against the skulls, and, you know, pretty terrible, not so good against damaging Calus himself. So, that equals out to a 5 out of 10, it's average. And so, the last ranking we have to give is the versatility ranking. This is, you know, how good the Malfeasance is at any given situation. A weapon like the Merciless is going to have a high ranking because no matter which encounter, it's pretty darn good actually. And so here, the Malfeasance gets a 6.5, verging on a 7 out of 10. Because it's definitely above average. It's doing things that most hand cannons will not do. If you're an avid hand cannon user, you love this archetype, yeah, it could be worth it to run through with the Malfeasance because at many parts it is doing some impressive things. But unfortunately, the downside of this gun is not the gun's fault, honestly. It's just how the raid is designed. It's not triggering on occasions that it should be triggering. And that's just the way things are. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, found it interesting, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. And if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.